Hi, hello, good evening, everyone. I hope you're all safe, you're all at home, you're with your near and dear ones, and you're doing well. And I hope virtual law is keeping you entertained and keeping, making sure your legal education is on point, even if, we're not having physical courts and, we can't see each other or meet each other. We can definitely virtually see each other and meet each other. Could you guys just tell me if you can hear me clearly and you can see me clearly? Just like a thumbs up or, a hello or something. So that I know that you can hear me clearly, there's no bandwidth issue, and you can see me clearly. Hi, Rushabh. Thanks, Robin. Okay. Hi, Mood Code Society. Hi, Nina. Okay. Thank you. Listen, I love the fact that you guys are sending me so many requests to come on this live. Unfortunately, I think the live period is just 60 minutes, so it's not possible for me to get all of you on live in these sessions. But if you all want, we can have a separate session where we only take all of you live one by one, and we just interact and chit chat. Hi Gautam. Hi Rushabh. Okay, so a little bit about today's topic. We're talking about triple talaq. Now, of course, it has been a widely reported topic. It has been talked about in media, in various lectures, in various seminars, webinars. So, as far as today's session is concerned, we thought that we'll keep it a little light. We'll have an interactive session. And for today's lecture, I have interactive session. I have with me a very good friend of mine. Her name is Saudamini Sharma. She is a graduate from a national law school. She has spent many years working and she has a wide experience in civil and criminal litigation, especially in complicated matters. She assisted in 2 landmark judgments. One was of the adultery case and second was of triple talaq, which we have with us today, the topic that we're discussing today. Now, she's also been closely associated with the chambers of Miss Pinky Anand, a senior advocate, as well as a former ASG. I see that you have joined. I will just add her to the live. Hi, Shinjin. I will just add her to the live.
Hi. Hi, Janvi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Thank you for coming today.
It's always a pleasure talking to you.
So, everyone, now you know a little bit about Saudamini. So, my first question to you, and we'll try to keep it as light as possible. Also, if you all have any questions, you can ask in the comment section, and I'll take them up after we finished our set of questions that we have decided for today. First question that I would like to ask you is that of the Shaira Bano case. So, you know that the writ petition was of the Shaira Bano case. So, tell us a little bit about it and what were the issues, the core issues of the petition.
So basically, the immediate petition was of Shaira Bano. It was actually a batch of writ petitions that were taken up together. Immediate writ petition was Shaira Bano, who had alleged that her husband has given her triple talaq in 2015 November, if I remember correctly, and she said that you declare it void, and she asked for the court to declare the practice of polygamy and nikah halala also void. Now, polygamy, as everybody knows, is the practice of having more than one wife, right? And nikah halala basically is a concept in Islamic law, which means that once you divorce your wife, then the wife has to undergo a period of 3 months, which is called the iddat period, after which she has to marry somebody else. Then she has to divorce that other person and then again undergo a 3 month iddat period. And only after that can she marry the first person again.
Wow, that is so complicated.
No, actually, it has a logic behind it. See, the thing is that the 3 month iddat period basically is to make sure that the woman is not pregnant by the man. So either by the first husband or by the second husband. So in that case, they have to see any time that a Muslim man will give divorce, he has to undergo this entire practice, and after that only he can marry the woman again. It also serves as a way to make the marriage is a little more stable, because what happens is that men tend to, or like women, like couples, sometimes you're really angry. So if you actually have a consequence to it, saying that okay, I cannot marry her again, they're not going to go ahead and say okay, talaq, talaq, talaq. So it serves as a barrier basically, for divorces that were given this way that time. So, anyways, these three practices were asked to be declared void, but the court went into talaq-e-biddat, which is the triple talaq. Now, triple talaq is basically a practice which is followed by the Hanafi school of law. So Shias don't have it. The Hanafi school, which is followed by some Sunnis, have it. And it basically means that a man can declare talaq 3 times in a single sitting to a woman. In fact, recently there were judgments which said that SMS and electronic media and letters and just like calling somebody up and saying talaq, 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 they're all valid forms of talaq, at least under the talaq-e-biddat issue. But then the court went into it, and they decided that we want to look at it, because of course it's an arbitrary practice, not just gender unequal, it is also against Article 14 per se. So that is the background to what the Shaira Bano case was basically about.
Okay.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. My next question to you is, we get that this is what the main petition, the leading petition was about, and there were other petitions that were tagged with this. So it was a batch of petitions. However, my question is, why do you think it took us so long after independence for such a petition to come about, for such a discussion to start in the legal fraternity, in the judiciary? Why now? Why not all these years?
Janvi, I personally think law is a dynamic process. Okay, it's something that people who know me very well will often hear me quote. I think law is a very dynamic process. It keeps happening as the society advances, right? So, right now, I think we are in the middle of a sort of revolution. At least when we look at law, when we look at 2017 and 2018 and 2019, we look at judgments that have come out which have actually upturned all the, let's say, societal morality, the old societal morality. We have judgments which, for 377, we have the euthanasia judgment, we have, of course, the adultery judgment, so many, which basically have sort of paved the way for human rights, and not just, human rights in a way that the way they're traditionally sort of, but actually the way that they have to be in a place in a civilized society. So right now I think it was time for them. Now for so long, talaq, nobody really raised a voice against it, and even if the voices were raised, they were sort of suppressed, or they were just said that okay, this is not. In fact, in 2002 there was a judgment called Shami Mara, which is extensively referred to in this.
Okay.
And in that case also they had said that triple talaq itself is a sinful practice. Islam itself, at least the text of Islam itself, says that if you read the judgment of Justice Joseph in this, which is like a separate, so the judgment is actually into 3 parts. So you first have the dissenting judgment of Chief Justice Kehar and Justice Nazir, and then you have a judgment separately written by Justice Korean Joseph. And then after that, you have the judgment written by Justice Nariman on his and Justice UU Lalit's behalf. So if you read Justice Joseph's judgment, which is actually very short, it's about 15-20 pages, you will see that he quotes...
This short.
Sorry?
Look at us calling all of this short right now at this time.
No, I think the actual judgment is around 400 pages or something, which is okay. The Aadhaar is like 900. So,
I'm just trying to give all the law students watching an idea of what is going to happen in the future.
Yeah, you need to read a lot all the time.
Yes.
Anyways, so yeah, the Justice Joseph actually quotes surahs, So he quotes Surah 2, which talks about divorce. And then he goes on to, how he actually explains the fact that triple talaq is basically is not an essential practice for the propagation of profession of Islam. So that is how, I mean, it was time now, because now we are looking at these laws. We are looking at autonomy, sexual autonomy. We are looking at freedom of thought, expression, speech. So it's now, and of course, it's a dynamic process. It comes at its own time whenever it has to happen. So I'm just glad it's there.
Yeah, I know, me too. Okay, so you spoke about essential practice. Now, my question is, so like customs are considered as a source of law since forever, and so is essential practice. So there was like this discussion regarding triple talaq being a custom or an essential practice, and therefore it is legal and it is law. So that was the argument, that one of the arguments that was being made. So what, can you shed some light on this aspect of it?
Janvi, the only argument in this entire matter was whether, at least the only major argument in this entire matter was whether triple talaq becomes an essential practice for Islam. Now, in fact, what had happened was that even the AIMPLB, the organization that was basically opposing the petitioner's prayer, had actually said that maybe it's sinful under the Islam, but the judicial discretion does not extend to interpreting custom. That was their main argument in this matter. Now, essential practice basically means any such thing without which the let's say the way that you have a religion changes, right? So for Hindus, like I'm a Hindu, so if I say I cannot do puja in the morning, that's essential practice because it's essential for my profession of my religion and propagation of my religion. The judges actually went into the fact that 22 countries have outlawed it. A lot of other sects of Muslims don't really, they've outlawed triple talaq as well. You have Pakistan, you have Saudi Arabia. All these countries have outlawed this law. And so eventually that is what they held on. They said that, this is not something that you need if you are a Muslim or a practicing Islamic. And in that case, you don't have to, you can actually strike it down. Let's put it like that. So the thing is that under Article 25 of the Constitution, if you see, we are given the freedom to practice any religion that we want, subject to our, there are some curbs under 25(1), right? You have public morality, you have public order, morality, like 2, 3. And then you have Part 3 of the Constitution, which has Article 14. Now, everything else it's fine with. But Part 3 of the Constitution, which is Article 14, it was held to be violative of that. So, you cannot have a practice which is violative of a fundamental right. So that is the basic premise on which this entire action or this entire practice was shot down by the court.
Okay, so it was held as a not valid custom on the ground of
Yes,
quality.
on the fact, basically because you don't really need to be able to have triple talaq to be a practicing Muslim.
Right.
It's not a prayer thing, and it's not something that you need to do. And of course, a lot of sects have outlawed it, like the Shias don't have it. Every other, all these Islamic countries, they don't have it. They've outlawed it. So they took all this into consideration, imported that, and then they decided that it's violative. They outlawed the practice.
Now coming to the dissenting judgment, because as you know, this judgment, I mean, there were some dissenting views as well. So, what is your take on this dissent in the judgment?
See, there's actually a lot of opinion on this. Basically, if you look at the judgment, if you see the last part of Chief Justice Khanna's judgment, you will see that what he's basically saying is he's saying that nobody is actually opposing that triple talaq is a bad thing. That he says it very clearly. He says nobody is opposing it, but I, as a judicial I sitting here, I cannot really dictate how anybody sort of interprets their custom. So he invoked 146 of the Constitution of India, and then he said that he injuncted for 6 months. He said that nobody's allowed to give triple talaq. He injuncted the triple talaq, and then he said that now I will ask the government of India to make law on the subject. So yes, of course, there is a lot of
Discussion.
there's a lot of discussion on this. There's a lot of discussion on whether he could have done it or not. But this is what the judgment says. So at the end, he basically leaves it. He actually notes. He says that the Union of India is actually against the practice of triple talaq. So I will ask them to make a law, which has now come. So
Yeah.
So in 2019, the law has now come in place.
Okay. Moving on to my next question. Now, this is regarding the book that you worked on called Trials of Truth. It was authored by Miss Pinky Anand, and I know that you worked on this book. So tell me about your journey on working on this book, and what is it about, and where can we find it? Where can we get it?
I think it's available on Amazon. I'm not sure. It's, well, you really do your research. So basically what the book is it actually started as an idea. See, when we as lawyers read judgments, we...
The book is called Trials of, for anyone who's asking.
Yeah, it's called Trials of Truth. So basically, see, when we read judgments, right, we read technicalities of the judgments, right? We see the evidence and we see what are the contradictions in the evidence and everything. But if you look at anybody else who's not really a lawyer or who's still studying law, doesn't understand the intricacies of law, for him to understand a judgment like that is very difficult. Right, so if today I say pick up triple talaq, right, so I will understand the intricacies of, say, Article 25 and Article 14 and all these things, but my mother's not interested in that, and she's interested in what actually happened and why it happened. So we decided to take 12 I think cases in it. We decided to take those cases and just sort of cull them down for a layman. So it'll become like a read. It'll become like something that you read. And of course, Pinky ji has tremendous experience with all these things. So we sat down and we tried to create like a document. I think we did it justice. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's an interesting read.
It's my next
Read. It has one chapter which is actually one of my favorites, is on women who kill.
Oh.
So because what we look at is we look at women as nurturers. We are in the middle of like this of a feminist movement right now. We are trying to uplift women and empower women, but there is of course an opposite side where women are people. So they are subject to the same sort of avarices. You have greed and lust, and So this chapter was basically on women who actually have undergone trials for murder and serial killers. It's actually a very interesting topic. I really enjoyed working on that one.
Yeah, I would imagine. So I think that's the first chapter I'm going to read in the book. I'm going to start from that chapter now.
I'll send it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Now
I owe you one. I'll send you that book.
Yeah. Please. Okay. So speaking of feminism and how you said that women are nurturers, and then there's women who are killers, and the kind of thought process we have about women and about feminism in general, right? So I would like to ask you regarding this judgment, the triple talaq judgment. Do you think it represents a milestone in the modern feminist movement of India? Do you think it is one of those pillars of modern feminism in India?
See, it is definitely a step towards empowerment, right? But everything has its pros and cons, Janvi. Now, if we look at for example, I'll give you an example. Now, we are looking at a place where we've outlawed triple talaq, right? Now, if you see, triple talaq is outlawed, but there are still people who are practicing it, right? Because they go and say that we are under Sharia law. So there is an act which actually puts in Sharia law for all the Muslims in the country in 1936, I think, that act. Now, that act says that Sharia law is applicable on all Muslims. If Sharia law is applicable on all Muslims, that means triple talaq because it is it is, a thing. So, in that case, there are women who are coming to these NGOs saying that they. Just 1 second. I'm so sorry. Just 1 second.
This is very common with our technical issues these days. So, guys, if you have any questions, I see a couple of them have already come. So, you just keep writing your questions and I'll take them up after I finish like one more question. Then we can do question answer.
Hi, I'm so
It's okay.
So what I was saying was that all these women are now coming to NGOs, right, saying that we have gotten triple talaq. So in that, like my husband has pronounced the triple talaq on us, and there's no way out of that. Like, what do? You can't force people to stay together. You can simply say, okay, you're still married, but what is the practical aspects of that are very murky.
Yeah.
That
Right.
context, now the government has come out with a law which actually gives a 3-year imprisonment under section 3 of that law. It's actually a very small act, it's about 8 sections, and it gives a 3-year. But against that also, the Supreme Court, I think on 6th July, has issued notice against that act because some women rights organizations have come up and said that incarceration of our husbands is not the answer. So there are always practical aspects to how a person. See, you can say that this is great for women, but how it actually translates to a practical aspect is a very different thing. That only comes with experience. It only comes with the amount of things that happen. So that.
Okay. Okay. Now my
But
next.
that it's of course a step forward. There's no doubt about it. But how it's going to play out is still a matter of, it's a matter of.
Yeah, so like you said about the bill, so my question is, we know that there is a triple talaq bill and that it has been passed. Now the thing is, so we have the triple talaq judgment on one hand, and we have the triple talaq bill on the other hand. And I know you've read both extensively and you've worked on both extensively. So, what do you think is the correlation between the two? In the sense that, do you think the bill does justice to the judgment, and do you think that the judgment is sort of the bill is like in continuation with the judgment, and as a it does justice to the judgment?
I don't know if the bill does justice to the judgment. They actually operate in different spheres. The judgment makes it illegal, not illegal. It makes anybody who's pronouncing triple talaq. Let me put it like this. Let me say that the marriage is not annulled. If you pronounce triple talaq, the marriage does not get annulled. In the bill, there is a criminal provision. So your section 3, I think, or 2, says that you can be incarcerated for up to 3 years, plus there is a fine. Now they operate in different fields, right? One is incarceration of a husband. The other is simply saying that the marriage subsists. So for us to say whether they do justice to each other, I mean, they're of course related because they're related to the same topic, but I don't think that they overlap each other in any way.
Okay. Okay. So you think they're mutually exclusive in their content?
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
definitely.
So I think now we'll take some questions. We have a lot of questions. So I'm going to start from the latest one and then go backwards.
Sure.
Okay. So Kajal asks, Supreme Court didn't tell to make didn't say that we should make it a penal offense. Despite this, the Parliament has made it a criminal offense under Muslim law. Marriage is a contract. So why is it not made a civil offense? Okay, why did they make it a criminal offense and not a civil offense?
See, this is not a civil offense. Defamation is not a civil offense, despite the fact that it is only between two people. When you're pronouncing triple talaq on a woman, it does not simply have only, civil consequences. It has actual consequences for the woman. The woman might not have a place to live. She might not have, I don't know, money. Maybe her mayor is too less. Or it is, of course, extremely jarring on a woman's psyche. It does end up getting into, people go into depression and, so many things. Breaking of a marriage is not just a civil consequence. It's not somebody just taking money from you. It is actually very, very difficult for a woman to go through something like that. So I don't think that it should be a civil offense at all. I think they've justified it, making it into a criminal offense. And of course, it does prevent. I mean, the deterrence is obviously there. A civil offense deterrence is not as much.
Okay. Okay. Now the next question by Kajal only is that she's read the triple talaq judgment completely, and she's saying that is it a step towards a uniform civil code? Would you say so?
No, I don't think it's a step towards uniform civil code. It's basically a step towards homogeneity of rights, of human rights. I mean, it's not. It doesn't really have anything to do with, religion per se. It is simply that you could not do something as cruel to a woman. It was simply that. At least to my mind, it was simply that. Wasn't a step towards the uniform civil code.
Okay. Abhishek Jaiswal asks that, ma'am, in your opinion, what is your opinion on judiciary vis-a-vis religious matters, customs and usages like triple talaq, Sabrimala, Ram Mandir, Jallikattu, etc.?
Well, I believe they depend on case to case basis. Mostly because every time that you're looking at, you go to the court saying that this is something which is not right, right? But there's always another side to it, right? Which because you're involved in the matter don't really understand. Now, if you see triple talaq, that was clearly violative of Article 14. It was violative because a woman is left literally just left without a house, without any sort of money, without a husband, without something that she's built. She's put in so many years to build. It's violative. So in that case, tracking it down was fine. But there is, of course, a bar. The judicial discretion does not extend to religion. You are allowed to practice your own religion under Article 25. It's a guarantee that the Constitution gives us that this is a secular country. You can practice whatever religion you want, however you want it, as long as it's not violative of fundamental rights, which is, I think, perfectly fine.
Another question by Abhi is that, so he asks that why was triple talaq in the judgment of the Supreme Court, I'm guessing, why was that not criminalized, whereas the practice of giving triple talaq has been criminalized by the bill that the government has presented?
The court was not asked to criminalize triple talaq.
I think
They did not ask for criminalization of triple talaq. They asked for triple talaq to be declared null and void, which is what they did. It is not for the court to criminalize an action. It is only for the legislature to do it, and that is how the system of this democracy works. And that's why they didn't criminalize it.
Yeah, you have a system of the three organs of government,
Yeah.
so that legislature and the judiciary. So this would come under the jurisdiction of the legislature and not the court.
Yes, yes. The court cannot create an offense where there doesn't exist one.
Abhi, if you're not satisfied, he's saying this is not his question. Okay, so then you repeat your question in a way that I can understand and I can ask ma'am. Okay, Ajal has written another question. She has written, as the bill has declared triple talaq as a cognizable offense, so whether it is bailable or non-bailable.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, as can you hear me?
Yeah.
As the bill has declared triple talaq as a cognizable offense, so whether it is bailable or non-bailable.
I am not sure. I don't know that.
I think also it's right now it's the Supreme Court has issued notice, right? So right now
They
it's
put notice on the validity of the bills. Actually, a woman called Rusheen, um, I'm sorry, I forgot her last name. She has challenged it, saying that incarceration of our husbands is not the answer to our problems. So don't criminalize triple talaq. Just leave the judgment as it is, and that's where it is.
okay.
Yeah.
So Abhi is saying that he wants to know criminalization of normal versus instantaneous triple talaq. That's which is very difficult for us to understand at this moment.
Criminalization of normal versus instantaneous triple talaq.
There is no non-instantaneous triple talaq. I mean,
No, triple talaq is always instantaneous.
instantaneous. It is that is the whole aspect of the
That's right. Non-revocable.
Yes. Okay. So Kajal asks, after injunction was granted by the Supreme Court, then what was the reply or take of the government to make law regarding it as ordered by the Supreme Court?
They didn't injunct, they injuncted men from giving triple talaq for the next 6 months, and in which they had hoped that the government will come up with the law. And after that, they had said if the decision is taken that the triple talaq needs to be, legislated on, the injunction will continue. Otherwise, the injunction will lapse.
Okay. Okay. I think
That's the minority judgment.
it was a minority judgment.
Yeah, the minority judgment had injuncted.
Okay. Now
The other had struck it down, saying that it is violative of the fundamental rights, so we're not looking at that.
So I think there is some confusion here. Oh, so what he's asking is why didn't the other forms of talaq be criminalized and only triple talaq? And I also want to make this clear. Triple talaq is instantaneous. It is when you say it 3 times. You could say it in a fit of rage, over text, or just spontaneously. And it is not installments. You don't say it one word on one day, second word on second day, and third word. Happen that, guys. Please. So okay.
You can't criminalize talaq. I mean, it's a form of divorce. How do you criminalize talaq? It has to be done according to the Sharia law. There are various other forms of talaq that Sharia prescribes. For example, there is one in which you have to say talaq in 1 month, and then after 28 days again you say talaq, and then after 28 days again you say talaq. So you say talaq 3 times over a span of 3 months, and then you're divorced. And if within these 3 months there is any sort of reconciliation or like cohabitation, then the whole thing is annulled. So the problem with triple talaq was that it's instantaneous, right? Immediately you say, okay, I give you talaq and you're haram to me, and after that it's over. There's no way that you can revoke it. The other forms of talaq under Sharia actually have a form of arbitration, or they have like a time gap in which you can, let's say, mull over your decision. So yeah, that was the problem.
Yeah, and also it could be there was no justification required, and there were no arrangements to be made. It was just like you said it and it's done.
Yeah, people are messaging their wives saying talaq, 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 and they're like, I'm divorced.
Yeah, and
imagine you're waking up one day and you get a message saying, oh my god, I'm divorced, huh?
Yeah.
It's not right.
It can't be, and it can't be. I mean, calling it a custom would be wrong. I mean, it just I mean, it could be a custom, but calling it a valid custom and then making it law would be, in my opinion, it wouldn't be right.
That's
Uh,
true.
yeah, triple talaq does not get reversed. Exactly, it's 3 times and it's irrevocable. That's why there is so much talk about it. Yes, that is the main problem. Okay, so if you all have more questions, we are waiting. You can send us the questions in the comments, and I will ask them.
So Devapam says if you say talaq, triple talaq after saying triple talaq, does it get reversed? Like minus minus plus. You know, you're right, Devapam. That is exactly what happens. By the way, he's from my college, so
Yeah, he's also writing soda a lot of times.
yeah, because
Yeah, I know. We both come from. Okay, guys, if you have questions, you just quickly post them. We're here for another like 2-3 minutes. But I've liked this session. Honestly, I've attended a lot of triple talaq discussions, and I'm sure you have lived through it only. So, it's never been like a fun, light conversation. It's always been a heavy duty conversation. I'm glad today we could make it a little.
law should be heavy. I think it's fun. I enjoy it all the time. I mean, it's of course got so many contours to it. It's really interesting, but I always think it's fun. I
Okay.
enjoy these discussions. I enjoy talking about triple talaq and all these like fun judgments.
So I have a question. Are you working on something currently? Are you taking out another book or like an article or something? Anything you can tell us.
No, I or maybe you'll come to know about it once it happens. But let's see.
Message from your Instagram posts.
Yeah, you really do your research, Annie. It's just it's not on my Instagram.
Well,
It isn't.
I figured it out.
You know what I did was actually I went through it. I went through my entire Instagram and it's not there. So you've done your research.
You have pictures where you're like moderating or something on a literary festival, and I can, the only time someone goes to a literary festival is if they've authored a book, like on the stage. There is no other time.
Fine, I'll give you that. Yeah, that was actually Jaipur Lit Fest.
See?
We had unveiled the book there, so I was moderating that session.
Yes. Okay, so Abhi wants to know if he can intern online under you.
No, I am not taking online internships.
She's taking a break. She's spending time with all her dogs and cats.
Yes, I have a couple of stray cats and one pet cat who's scared of all the other strays. So I'm doing that.
Okay. Chalo. I think we will call this a day. Oh, there is more questions. Abhishek asks, ma'am, are there any changes after law being passed on triple talaq? I mean, any conviction or decrement in the cases?
I'm sorry, what
Oh,
decree?
after the bill criminalized triple talaq, are there
I
any?
no,
No,
I
na?
wouldn't
Yeah,
know
because
because the laws just come in. I think got its assent in June 2019, so it's just barely 6 months old.
yeah, and now it's already being challenged and it's pending in Supreme Court. So chances are very
Not
slim.
6 months old. It's now June 2020, so it's about a year old actually. But I wouldn't know if there is anything that has come up under it yet.
Okay. All right. Okay, guys, this has been fun. Thank you, Sudhamini, for joining.
Bye.
Bye. See you.